Hey guys, we got breaking news. Coinbase is being sued by the SEC. This is a day after Binance was sued by the SEC, and honestly, I think this is the end of crypto. It looks pretty bad. Take a look at the headlines together here. Coinbase sued by SEC for breaking U.S. securities rules. Here's another headline. SEC sues Coinbase, alleges it is unregistered broker dealer. Now, if you hop over to the SEC website, it's actually pretty serious. Let me take a look at this, guys, together here. According to the SEC's complaint, since at least 2019, Coinbase has made billions of dollars unlawfully facilitating the buying and selling of crypto asset securities. The SEC alleges that Coinbase intertwines the traditional service of an exchange, broker, and clearing agency without having registered any of those functions with the commission as required by law. And you got to register because SEC is coming after you. Here's some quotes from Gary Gensler. You guys got to hear this stuff for yourself. We allege that Coinbase, despite being subject to securities laws, commingled and unlawfully offered exchange, broker-dealer, and clearinghouse functions. And this is from Gary Gensler of the SEC. Well, let's continue. In other parts of our markets, securities markets, these functions are separate. Coinbase alleged failures deprive investors of critical protections, including rulebooks that prevent fraud and manipulation, proper disclosure, safeguards against conflicts of interest, and routine inspection by the SEC. Further, as we allege, Coinbase never registered its staking as a service program as required by securities laws, again, depriving investors of critical disclosure and other protections. And you got to hear this great quote from Gubar Gruel, who's the director of SEC's Division of Enforcement. Here's the quote here. You got to hear it for yourself. You simply can't ignore the rules because you don't like them or because you prefer to have different ones. We got to read this again. You simply can't ignore the rules because you don't like them or because you prefer to have different ones. The consequence for the investing public are far too great. Moreover here, as alleged in our complaint, Coinbase was fully aware of the applicability of the federal securities laws to its business activities, but deliberately refused to follow them. Wow, that's really, really harsh. While Coinbase calculated decisions may have allowed it to earn billions, it's done so at the expense of investors by depriving them of the protections to which they are entitled. Today's action seeks to hold Coinbase accountable for its choices. So this is the base of the name of the game here. You guys can, I just read it. They're saying, hey, you've been doing this for 4 years. We're talking about billions of dollars. Just because you don't like the rules doesn't mean they don't exist. Just because you don't like the rules, that doesn't mean you can just prefer to have different ones. I think this is actually pretty strong language. And this is coming after the attacks by the SEC on Binance. And I just don't see a way forward for these kind of exchanges. Now, certainly you can make the case, and I know there are crypto bulls out there that say, oh, Chris, the government's just a bunch of meanies, that they're just making all these false accusations. Well, this is how the game is played. The government writes the rules. So, and also too, you're trying to come up with an alternative system of money to go against government currency. So good luck with that. Also, to be fair on the government side, I completely agree with investor protections, this kind of things, right? So if you have these, unregistered exchanges, and if the books are in such a way that you can easily manipulate the prices of things and stuff like that, like you guys know this with crypto, it is the Wild West out there. And you could argue the same thing with YouTube as well. It's the Wild West on YouTube as well. And can you regulate all of these things? What I want to side with on Coinbase, just to be fair, at least Coinbase, they make the case that they've been trying to work with the government and trying to, be in compliance all along. And that's the case that Coinbase always makes. And that might be true. I'm just, to be fair, and we'll see how this holds up in a court of law. But myself, if I had a whole bunch of money, say on Binance or Coinbase, I would be pretty nervous. I don't put any money in this stuff. So I'm always laughing at this stuff because I think it's all a bunch of a sham, monkey coins, dog coins, lamb coins, sheep coins, whatever you want to call these things. I think it's all a bunch of hooey, it all. But I understand that people have real money in this stuff, and I really get it because we're talking about, Coinbase has, made billions of dollars off this stuff. Now, in terms of an actual situation, to where we could resolve this, yes, theoretically, you could classify some of these crypto assets as securities. I'm saying theoretically, but then you're going to have a whole bunch of different regulations. You're going to have taxes involved, this kind of stuff, because you could make the case that, and this on the more of the bull case, say, Chris, crypto's not going anywhere. Just the government has to figure out a way to regulate it the same way, say, for example, different types of MJ, these kind of things, right? It's to where, one state's like, oh, we're going to make this legal. And the government's like, okay, fine, we'll tax it and we'll regulate it. And the same way with, you could say, sports betting, these kind of things. Hey, we're going to make it legal, fine, we'll tax it, whatever. And I think it might be the same kind of situation if indeed the world of crypto continues forward. Now, my personal opinion is I just don't touch this stuff. I'm fine with dollar. I'm happy with dollar. And if you want to give me dollar, I'd be happy with that as well. Whether or not, these sheep coins and dog coins and stuff like stick around is anyone's guess. But I think these crypto exchanges are in trouble. They're getting sued by the SEC, and they're hitting them for all kinds of stuff. It's basically from what I read, and I read the language with you guys, it just feels like that they're attacking the core business of like, you can't do any of this stuff. You can't sell any of these things. They're all unregistered, and moreover, you're offering this whole staking stuff, which seems like a scam. And remember too, this has been all the YouTubers that were pushing FTX. That was a big part of the lawsuit, is that they're basically pushing unregistered securities and these kind of things, let alone an exchange that sells a whole bunch of these unregistered securities. And one of the things that may be apparent in the books, it may turn out that there's a bunch of funny business with the accounting. We'll see. The Binance situation sounds like, from the original SEC argument, that there was funny business here. The Coinbase one does not necessarily. And what I mean by funny business, if you guys remember the whole FTX Alameda trading thing, it was like you're taking money that's supposed to be in one account, using it in another account, using it to trade, etc. And everything's fine and dandy when everything's going up, because you just throw money in there, you buy low, sell high kind of stuff, and it makes sense. But when the things that you're buying are all going down in value, then when you try to put the money back into the first account, there's no money there, right? Everything's all decreased, and then when people start to try to pull their money out, and they find out, oh my God, you don't have my money anymore, then you got a problem. So we'll see how Coinbase actually plays out in this thing. But what it seems like to me with the SEC, with either the Coinbase or Binance, it seems like they're essentially attacking the whole industry as a whole, saying like your whole business is fraudulent. That's how I read this thing since 2019, and the SEC is also well aware that we're talking about billions of dollars. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in this one. We read through some of these things, and I'd also like to hear your thoughts if you think this is indeed the end of crypto. For me, like I said, I just don't have any money in this stuff, so I find it to be really entertaining to watch this thing crumble. But I understand, and I get it. If you fell for this stuff, if you fell for all these things that people are pushing on YouTube, you're probably not happy, right? You're blaming the government and all these kind of things. But to be perfectly frank, like, how did you think it was going to end up? Like, you're buying coins with dogs on it. Like literally, that's what you're doing. You're buying digital coins with dogs on it. How did you think this was going to end up? You really think that the whole world is going to be like, oh my God, I totally want to put all my money in dog coins, and I'm going to be able to buy houses with it, and cars and food and stuff like that. Is that really what you thought was going to happen? And it's essentially, think of it this way: it's like you go to the casino, they give you a bunch of chips, and the chips seem really fun, and you're playing all the games and stuff like that. But when the casino closes, your chips are worthless, and that's essentially what's happening here. So for me, I would be really nervous if I had money in any of this stuff. I'd be nervous if I had money in any of these exchanges. We've already seen what happened with like your Voyager, or your what was the other one? There was the one that BlockFi, right? These kind of things. We see that now that Binance is being sued, and now Coinbase is being sued as well. So I think the whole industry is in peril. That's my opinion on this one. I'd love to hear your opinion. I especially love to hear from the bulls. What do you think is going to happen from this? Because even if you want to make the case that the government is wrong, etc., the government can do whatever they want. If they want to shut it down, they can totally shut it down. They come with any number of reasons to shut it down. That's how I think this is going to play out. If they don't want it to work, they won't, they'll just take it out. However, to be fair, if they feel like that they can regulate it and can make a bunch of tax dollars from it, then it could survive. That's my opinion on that. So love to hear your opinion on this thing. What do you think about the charges? Just because you don't like the rules doesn't mean you don't have to follow them. I love that quote. I think that's fantastic. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Please share your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video.